Sto io stay wa. That's the really sort way. Ana Deus ke wakis li yoga iga gwego. Mai gwaya the lo lugi. Eji nakke ndwa tala kweki ne eji ni yu bawa no da onya da aga. Ana ne chujila wagle kweki. Ne angilu. Eji kaya wasto waliman hodog waseka ika chiwa stekchi. Eti ga ne kanito yaha. Ana ne dos ke pi yunehela dohte. Gahte yokste. Ne la ugon ne chi miole wahali wat kweni. Akwe go yo igo lolia chi nakte. Akwe go ne wahana donyus. Chi nakte wi ka ika sogwaya disu. Ne la welu ki ai waya ndage ne kan hela dums chot kot pi ne de patat ne hela dums ya te jung we on cha ne di ko tawan ne ne dos ne yun hela do te ne wa ko pe ni pi wa hali wa ye lits ne ti ga ne kan to ya ne wa so wali wan do wa se kai ka ne wa sla de da ne tanya ta ne pa ko. So first of all, I was mentioning that it's kind of humorous, I guess, how our introductions can be. And so I know I've been called a lot of different things and names and this and that over the years, I mean, I probably still continue to be called that, different things. But anyhow, first of all, I mentioned to say that I'd like to thank the young man who did our opening address here this morning. And he did very well, did very good in speaking and all of the things that he announced about what the Creator has put forth here on this earth for our well-being. And we still see that we are still continuing all of those things that he has given us, each and every one of us. So again, I'd like to thank him for offering those words that we always say, that we always mention these kind of words, first of all, when we come together, when our people come together. Yung wadli waday ona kilo chi nahte ni yot yung wat ka hajas kwai ga yun hela do te agilo ne do di kwenye hajas se ona gani to di yans la nele akwe kupi ne na hu kwislo ayo kwenye hage ahadi yan dekta se chi nahte ne ni pa wanoda. Those that we hona was to have we are gil we you what you had just to know annually qua no chi ya townji and vada and va fish daga to aya one daga I vano lu you do hunchu akwe ku ne to ayu when you have akwe ku hayati and defta se koi ga skana I vano to ne to ne we lao ha squaya this Kan so what ka hla do huncha de ne hakwe ko so kwawi ji nakte ne ni pa wano da hake ya te jungwe ne ona ne sa ga da un sat kat kwa chok nu tolot ka hla o chi da suha ne ya de ko ne ni hot la no da se o chi da su kale ya de ko ni kal yo da ne ona ne sa ga ni ha di wano da se Kale we ne tsagadi ungwe ne akwe ko chi nakte so ne ni wa wano yo do honjo ne da wa kwiso se ayo ko ni hage we ne na I twain dekta se ne chi nakte ne ni wa wano. So as I was saying that that all of the things that we can mention that we're trying our very best, I guess, in trying to continue all of the things that we've been given by the Creator, and even our language, and we mentioned to say that all of the things, all of our languages, that we put together, that He has given each and every one of us a language and how we speak to one another, and each of the different nations and how they speak their languages. It's the same thing as if you listen to all of the different kind of birds, that they all have their own kinds of songs. Certain birds, they have their own kind of songs, and this is what was given to them. Just as well as all of the different kind of animals. The animals also have the various kinds of ways that they address one another as animals. And so we too, as people, as we ne tsagade ne akwe kung oya ne ni kwawano da se jinakte ne ne patonung dakpe. So all of the kind of words that we have and how we speak and these things, this is what we do. To bring everything, together, so that we can continue that, especially now, in the way things are, like one of our elders mentions, to say that there's only 13, language speakers in this, fluent speakers, I guess, in this community, in which when I was growing up, oh man, there was a lot of people then, when I was growing up, and so that's where I, began to learn, being raised by my grandparents, my grandmother especially, being able to, afford that understanding to me to learn this language, and to me, I guess it was something that I never really thought of necessarily, that the language, that's all I knew growing up. And so when I went to school, and when I went to school, I didn't know any kind of English words, at the time. But it was my cousin. He would have to come into my classroom in the mornings, and the teacher would have to tell him, this is what she's doing, and can you let him know? And so he would tell me, and then after a few weeks, and he kind of got mad at me. He says, "You will learn that language now." So I guess I had to learn the English language. And so kind of started doing that and too. So it's from that standpoint, but every time when we get home from school, that English language that stayed at school, and then once I got home, then it was just our language, from that time on, is to continue that. And like I was saying, or in my bio, as you call it, I had all various opportunities, growing up, and there were times that my uncle, that he would travel out, to other communities, other Six Nation communities, and so we're out there and visiting around, and so myself too, visiting around with all of the other older people at that time, and learning, things here and there at that time. So to me, it's like it's always a continuous learning of not only our languages but also our traditions, and a lot of things that have come about in that learning, and so you hear various perspectives from other elders, and they all sort of come together. They all come together, and they all, you kind of mold all of those pieces together, and then pretty soon, you're fitting all of those pieces of the puzzle together until you got a real, really nice picture there of how they're putting it, of what they're talking about in regards to our culture. And we have a very, very rich culture, and it all, starts, from the beginning, going back to the beginning when the creation, at creation time, the creation story, and going through all of those things. And so these are the things that you begin to learn, and having it be more meaningful and understanding. And so these are the things that that we go through in our learning. And so that has been continuing since a lot of things that we've been doing. Neji ne akwekung Teda neji nakte ne puhunli wahtanje te kui ka ika ne niitina sagalang teda ne akwekung ne wagali kwayeline tunu ne nyulikwage nokchi saha kuya gilu chi nu ne joda sawang ne tone kui ka ika ne chikaya ne wasakwanu shunite ne tunu ne wahwaya kahawite kui losot kale ne luno ha ne tunu ne wahwaya kahawite ne chinu ne tudina dai kahanai kui ne wahadina ne ona ne tone hakwe kui ona ne wasagoti loli tunu ne ona ne wahadaja tuwe ne ka ika ne laksa ne ka ika lauha ne yudohunchu ne hakwego ne na hatta coalitions ne jit na teso ne niwat ne ona ne gui ga ikanganto ne wahata jatu ne ona gui ne to awane ne chikaya ne lasanawana ne tunu ne jinu ne tudinaga lauha ne wahan kwa hakwego yun helado gui waga kweni gui sala ka ikan ne jinu ne yuwana gai Ona gui ne wahan, ne jit nakte ne na dwaayil, ne ka ikan hayitinan sagalang, ne lauha ne ona ne nyalehwe, ne na hoa daksawahwe, ne laksa, ne hakwegu ne ladiksa suha, ne nyalehwe, ne na hukwada zeide, ne na hoa nansagam, ne ona ne tone, ne luno ha, kalegwi ne lo sota. Wa hakwe kui wagadrohwi yune ne wahupata seide ne wana masagudin hela dunse wagakwe niskana kui ne wahunda jake so newe ne chi no ne tudiakan da ne kui ga ikan ne lundegas ne tunu ne wawadasa wakwe ne tone waitina sagalang se kui ne hungwe suha. So just something that we did last night, which is a tradition of all of our people, that last night we had a welcoming and a handshake, or what we call, actually it's shaking arms with one another. And so this is what we did last night, and all of the people from the community came around and took us by the arm and welcomed us here into the community. And also, like I was saying, that where it all began is, I shared that just now to say where it all began. It started with the one that we refer to as the peacemaker, the one who made our houses, as we say. And so he was the peacemaker at that time when his mother and grandmother, they brought him back to their main village that they called Oneida. And so they brought him back to the main village, and they introduced him to the leader of their village, who was the head one of their village. And so it was at that time that the leader of the village, he made it to be known that we will all welcome them back into their community, and then we will all begin to go around and we will shake their arms, hold arms, and welcome them back. And we will start with all of the children first. They will go first and shake his hand and shake his arm as they go around. And then next will be the mother, and then the grandmother. And so this is how they proceeded as they went around and they did this. So I just wanted to give a little history, I guess, on that, of where all of that kind of stemmed from, and its beginnings was at that time. That's when that was the first welcoming of people. And so this is what we did last night. And so that was very good that we were able to, continue that part of our tradition and our heritage, as I would say. Neona swajela ne toniwat kwa chokna teso ne ni hotikalo da se lodik sto hukung. ta ne vi ka ika ne tunu wan ka to I ges quick what lot stone what ka damal ya hajus we ne to de what ka damal ya hajus ges we ka ika wa wen ona wa hi ka ika lokstan to lot tai dakes o ha ges ona we wa dek tanet ona wa hi wanung dons isle ga we atidas wa katos ga kwe ona gwi wa hadi ona to ikwas gwi ga ika ona get katos ko ukani se na ho ona gwi wa hi loli ukanate ona wa is it gone Wilbert Brown it yakni wa gilo da nene aksat Lily Brown ne wa yung kwada dokyo ona kwi ha ne ka ha wa bi wal ne ni say sak tanjun wa sa de go ganto katsa nu desnage wa gilo Green Bay Oneida Wisconsin ona mahal ne ka ona mahal Sanyago ka wa gilo ona kaligri wa ket kat natit ni yut ko ka kwe ko ka and so you know our elders you know they always had funny stories they always would tell things about you know not only yourself but other things that would go on so as I was saying that this one time I was in the community and I was driving around, just looking around, and as I was going along, and I seen this elder man. He was walking along the side of the road there, and so I come up to him and I pulled over and I stopped and opened the window and I said, "You want to ride? You want to ride home?" And he didn't live too far from where he was walking, so I just offered him a ride. And he looks over at me and says, "Yeah, I guess." So he jumps into the car like that. And so we're riding along, there, and we're just talking. And pretty soon he leans over and he looks over at me and he says, "Who are you anyway?" So I told him, I said, "Bob Brown." And he says, "Oh, are you one of Wilbert Brown's boys?" I said, No, that's my uncle. And I said, "It was Lily Brown. She's my grandma. She raised me." And then he looks over at me again and says, oh yeah, I heard that. You're the one that ran away to Green Bay, Wisconsin." And it's like, "Oh, no, I didn't run away, And so then next thing he says, looks at me again. So he says, "Are you married?" And I say, "Yeah, I'm married." Then he looks at me and says, "What's wrong with her? Is she blind?" So, and that's how it was, all of these old guys, they always had these kind of funny stories, there's always, things like that, so, we had good laughs, and I always enjoyed it, I enjoyed my upbringing. I always had a lot of old people that I hang out with and around, and being able to, have those conversations. And also hearing their stories as well, and that was always good. They always give really good encouragement, give you encouragement, to never give up, the things that you're doing or whatever it is that you're learning. If there's one or two things that you're doing, make sure you do it in the very best way that you can, and that's what they always encourage. And so, I've always taken that to heart and trying to do the very best that I can and continue that, as much as I can. Ne sa ne wag ne kaiga ne to ne ni yot ne wakato jagu jot kutwi wakatunde kanyo na ne wali wakaje we ga ika hi wali wa suha. Onagui ne to ne lunde kaspachela Sade wasana vi nailana di wataji the haji nailana Iwadi wataji the hajase we ga ikanchi na days ona watadane looks down hahun ne na lugas ne tanji ne se lungwad ne ladiksa suha ne yoda honcho agwego to ahane seke siata hawite ladiksa su to ahane seke chinate ni yojelo chinate yodi wataji ne hagwego pi tanu ne ahadi ande se chinate ne wali wataji do kalipi iwa ne agwego ne na honatu ndege wi ahadi wa ne na honlo kage ne chinate ne ni bawano Dalene dos we ga ika ne wahan ne kansko yakanige tideways ne tanu ayawan ne lono hanuma to ahadi dage ne nuwa ne unane only wahtaje do hage chinate ne ni wadi wahtaje do ga ika wahisla da ne we ga ika hakwe go ne kahte chalusla wahat kawe chot ko we mandwe yal ke yud honcho Wa hakwe ko ne hone seke ne ladiksa so chinate ne niyo jela chinate yu padi wat je wa hakwe ko we ne na hatiya dekta se chinate we ne nu ko no dos ke we yu ko wislo we tonu ai wali pa yelitse ai til pa yelitse we yu ko sada ne tonu ne na hatiya dekta se ne wa ke ne na ko le chanu ne chupe tat su chut ko we And so another thing that I'd like to mention is too that as I was growing up, I was about 5, 6 years old, I guess, at the time. And this one time, or well, it was several times, but this very first time that I had heard it. And as I was sitting there on the bench in the longhouse as we were doing our ceremonies, and so there's a part in our ceremonies that they give encouragement, or they have someone give encouragement to everybody that's there as we're doing our ceremonies. So in between those dances that we're doing, and so this one old man, really old man, he stood up and he looked around at everybody that was gathered there at the ceremonies. And so he made an announcement to say that to all of the parents, he said to all of the parents that have the children, he says, make sure that your children are always there in and around everything that is going on, whatever it is, that you got going on. Make sure that you always have your children around. Because there's going to come a day, that we're not going to be around here much longer. And it's those children that they're, even if there was one or two of them, that hear what's taking place and listening, really listening to what's going on. And when we're not here no longer, no more, and, they're going to be the ones who are going to be standing there now. And they're going to be doing the things that we were doing. And so they're going to carry that on. And so this is what he had said. And so for me, I guess I really listened, and I really had taken that to heart to really understand what he was saying. And I remembered that. And so I still continue to say that, all of the things that he had spoken about, to say that make sure that your children are always here and there. And whatever we're doing, bring them together with all of us so that they can hear and understand what's going on too. Yonko.